Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm meadsy69. Welcome back to the channel. So today we are going to have a look at the YOLO wagon. That is what this tank was always known by, the YOLO wagon. So it does have this camouflage. I'm just the grey wolf. It looks fantastic. But it's not so much a YOLO wagon anymore, and that's what we're going to talk about. Like, it's always, and I'll always know this tank by the YOLO wagon, even though it's not so much a YOLO wagon anymore. I'm still going to call it the YOLO wagon because that's what I grew up with this tank. Like, it used to be the YOLO wagon. So the stat wise, I mean, the stats are pretty decent on the tank. I mean, 250 frontal armor, which was why it was the YOLO wagon, because it had so much armor and the speed. You could just get in front of the enemy and just bully them, and they don't know how to penetrate you. So the DPM 3,856, which is absolutely amazing for a tier 10. So very high DPM. The reload is only 7.16 seconds. Your penetration is 300 on your standard AP, 330 on your APCR. Now I would run this with the rammer. Get more DPM, doesn't really affect it too much if you do run it with calibrated shells, doesn't give you that much more pen. Average damage, you got a 460 alpha gun, which is pretty nice, 390 on your APCR and 600 on your HE. Aim time is 3.8, dispersion 0.353. The biggest problem with this tank is it only has 4 degrees of gun depression. Yes, only 4 degrees of gun depression. The speed, however, is very nice at 50 kilometers. So, I mean, what's changed about the tank? I mean, not really anything. Like, it's not really been nerfed. It's just people have learned how to deal with the tank. Where you used to be able to jump in the tank, run to the medium side or the heavies, and just bully them, and absolutely bully them. But you can't really do that anymore because people know how to deal with it. If you try to YOLO in this tank, you will get absolutely torn apart. And the biggest downfall with the tank, of course, is that gun depression, because it doesn't enable you to get in certain positions. Now, this game here, we're gonna do all right, and we're gonna show that you can still get the bounces and just how the armor profile works. Now, a lot of the guys on the enemy team will shoot between the gun or where the gun mantlet is, and a lot of the times you will actually get the bounce. It's quite strong, a lot stronger than people think. It looks grey, so people shoot it, and then you get the bounce. Of course, the lower plate is really, really weak, so you do have to bear that in mind. But the biggest downfall and what makes this tank not exciting anymore, I mean, look at this shot. We can only just get that gun to get the that shot off on that AMX, and now we're being rushed. We're being rushed by these enemy team, and I just need to sort of wiggle and angle, and you can see when I do that, then that is when you can start getting them bounces. 1500 bounce. I mean, we're not going to bounce too much more. 1700 bounce or block, sorry. So we're not going to do too much more. I think that's going to be pretty much the last shot there we're going to bounce. But in quick succession, we just bounced 2,000 damage. Like, very, very nice. And when you can angle your tank like that, then you can get them bounces. And you can see here, this is what happens when you YOLO. I mean, we kind of YOLO'd. But the only thing with this is the maps. The maps is not made for this tank anymore. There are very few maps that you can actually do well. Not Middlesbrough, but Himmelsdorf is a flat map. That's probably one of the best maps for this because it's all flat. The whole map is flat. So there's not many maps out there that you could do well, because most of the maps now is focused on heals, gun depression. So you need to get yourself into positions where you can actually be effective. Like here, I love going to the right side. I'm not going to go to the right side with this tank. I need to go to a side where I can actually use flat ground. And that's why I decided to come with my team to the left side here. So given the chance, given the opportunity, excuse me, you will be able to out DPM most things that come your way, even if it's mediums. But Wargaming, I do think, I mean, I don't think it's a weak tank. I don't think it's a weak tank. back in the day, it was an extremely strong tank. Nowadays, it's people don't really enjoy playing the tank because, again, like I said, there's only certain maps that this tank does do well in. I mean, I'm going to get ripped by a Death Star there. Luckily, he only does 400 damage, and now I can focus again. I can't get my gun down to the lower plate, so I'm like, frick's sake, I need to go somewhere else. And I managed to get his the turret there. And that is where this tank really doesn't shine, is that gun depression. Give it 6 degrees of gun depression, I think this tank will be a completely different tank. You'll be able to get into them positions where you can get your gun down enough. I mean, if we had 6 degrees of gun depression, we might have been able to get that lower plate on that VK and took him out a lot sooner. So yeah, I mean, the gun depression alone just sort of ruins it for me. And it's not even the gun depression. If there was a lot, how can I put this? If there was a lot more maps like Himmelsdorf that are a lot more flat, then I think this tank would be okay and it would do okay. But because a lot of the maps nowadays isn't focused around flat ground maps, it's all about the gun depression. It's all about having a strong turret or getting on a ridge, you know. That is what most 99% of the maps is. I can't think of any other map. I mean, you've got, I can't remember. You know, off the top of my head, I can't really remember. There's probably 2, maybe 3 that are just flat. You got one with the bridge, the New York themed one, or whatever. I can't even remember what it's called. Yeah, you can go to sort of the right side, not on the bridge, the other side, and you might be effective. And the same with this side, like this map. I can only be effective on this side. But you get a map like Dead Rail, then you're screwed because either side, and then they're both about gun depression. So, and because this, even though this tank is a tank destroyer, you can't really play it like a tank destroyer. It's not made to be a tank destroyer. It's a YOLO wagon. Like, you get in the thick of it, you know, you get in the thick of the battle. Go with your mediums, go with your heavies. The only other downfall with the tank, I think as well, because it has the quick speed and it is known as the YOLO wagon, if you go and try to go with the medium side, this map, New Bay, here we go. Luckily, it's this game. So, New Bay, I don't want to go to the right side because if I go on the bridge, what can I do? What can you do on the bridge? So you have to go to the left side. Now, if your team all go to the right side, then what can you do? Like, literally, you're not going to be able to do nothing. So the only way I can be effective is to go on the left side of the map. Now, luckily, I do have some cover from my team. Like, we've basically split up. Half have gone, or a couple have gone right, and most of the others have gone left. But you're constantly finding, or you're constantly trying to find flat ground. And it doesn't mean it's the tank is bad. It doesn't mean the tank is bad, but it's not what people are used to now. That, like, the game has been so dependent on strong turrets, like gun depression and ridges, that this tank has become sort of not that good. And people just know how to deal with it now. Because it's got no gun depression, 4 degrees of gun depression, it really is quite poor. Now, if you can obviously get on a flat ground, you can have a whale of a time. I mean, this game here is quite funny, but I just absolutely farm some tanks. Now, we've taken out the Death Star. He was my main target. And again, if you come up against tanks like this guy, the M60, even though he's a tier 10 medium, I out DPM him. I've got more DPM than pretty much, well, I have got more DPM than any medium tank in tier 10. Tanks that are known to have high DPM, I've got more. So if I could bully them, then I'm going to. Like now, we're all going to push this M60, and it's kind of funny because we kill him where he is, and then we're all just going to back up. None of us try to go forward. We're just going to all back up. Another thing with the tank as well that I have found playing it is the traverse isn't as great as I think it could be. And even if they change the traverse so it's really, really quick, then you can play this tank like a medium, because that is how I see this tank. Like, I see it as a medium, a turretless medium. You really can't play this tank like a TD. If you play this tank like a TD, then you're doing it wrong. But I can also understand why some people do play the tank like a TD, because you just can't get into position. I mean, Castilla. What are you going to do on Castilla? The only thing you can really do on that map is camp. And that takes it away, because I don't want to camp. Even though it is a tank destroyer, it's not a camping tank. So because of how all the maps are set out now, it kind of forces you to play a YOLO in tank, because that is what it is. It's a YOLO in tank. You have to YOLO in. Just like here, we're actually going to bully this bat chap. We're going to get close to him, and we're going to make him not be able to circle us. And that is where the YOLO wagon, the name, come from. Like, we just bully this tank. Absolutely bully him. And we just need more of that. We need more maps, maybe, that are flat ground, or we just need to change the tank, because Wargaming at the moment are forcing us to play a tank the way it shouldn't be played in 99% of the maps. I don't want to sit at the back on dead rail. I don't like it, especially when I'm in this tank. I don't play this tank to sit at the back. If I want to sit at the back, I'll play a grill. You know, I play this map to YOLO in. But what can you do on dead rail or mines? Like, how can you YOLO in like that? You can't. It's impossible. Unless I'm just completely playing it wrong for all these years. So that is the YOLO wagon. Not so much a YOLO wagon anymore, unfortunately. But mainly because of the maps, and people know how to deal with it. But let me know your thoughts on the Object 263. Let me know in the comments below. For now, I'll see you soon. With